Nigerians on the march again. They took to the streets last year to demand the withdrawal of French forces, and they succeeded. This time, they are protesting to demand the closure of US army bases in their country.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and welcome back to yet another episode, man. Proudly Motherland. Man, if this is your first time coming through, man, they call me Jay. I'm a Motherland and I do live out in the Diaspora. And every day we do drop vlogs, man. Every now and then we talk about issues affecting my continent, from the politics to the entertainment. Yes, we do share our information and you guys chime in, and it's always a pleasure to have everybody talk. Ladies and gentlemen, before we do get started, I want you to not forget, man, help the platform out. Give us that thumbs up. The more thumbs up you give us, the more the YouTube algorithm understands what we're trying to do on this platform. Now, I'm not going to take so much of your time, man. I want us to talk about a few things, man. A few things have been happening in the continent of Africa, and if you have been watching the news, man, if you've been following events in the continent, you will realize that there's a whole lot of shifting going on, and I want to talk about one of those shifts today. And ladies and gentlemen, I want us to focus on this beautiful country out in the Sahel region called the Republic of Niger. A couple of months ago, man, a new strongman came into power, and he took over control from a puppet that was put in place by the West, aka France, one of the worst imperialists when it comes to Africa. The only European power that depends 90% of its well-being, its lifeline, on its African colonies, especially when it comes to that raw material. So this strong person, man, General Abdurrahman Chani, he came into place after realizing that the civilian regime that was in place was doing nothing to help the people's current status. So he took over power, and ever since, it's been a talk of war between this leader and Western allies. However, we realize that some other countries, man, some other countries around the globe have somehow managed to go back and maintain working relationship with this beautiful country, but we still do have a couple of cliques, a couple of countries that are notorious for causing chaos around the world, especially in Africa, who still see this regime as a hostile one. Let me just ask you people a question. My people in France, I'm not saying everybody in France is bad. I know that the politicians out there in France are not the best, especially when it comes to the international relations, the international policies towards former colonies. My people in France, let me just ask you people a question, man. Why is it that it's normal for a country like France to continue underdeveloping, to continue maintaining its former colonies through what we call currency bondage? Why is it that it is okay for them to keep these people in chains of poverty, and when these people find a leader who comes into place and tries to stop all this mess, they become the black sheep? Now, ladies and gentlemen, fast forward to what is happening recently in the Republic of Niger. Immediately General Chiani took over power, man, he kicked out the French because they vividly realized, man, General Chiani vividly realized that the perpetual criminal, the perpetual factor, the perpetual parasite that has been making that beautiful country poor were the French. So he said, you know what, I don't want you in my territory, so go out. We all remember the back and forth, man, which happened with the ambassador who said, I'm not going to go, I'm here because the president you guys took under house arrest, he's still illegitimate, blah, 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 blah. And then it turned out that this man had to run for his life. He had to sneak through the back door with, like a dog with its tail wrapped in between his legs, and then he escaped to Paris. So when the French left, the troops also left, and the country was liberated. And we all saw the massive support of the people, the citizens of that beautiful country, the Nigerians. They supported the new regime. They fasted, they camped out at the French military base. They continuously prayed and they asked for the exposure of France from its territories. And ladies and gentlemen, while all this was going on, man, a staunch ally to the French sat quiet. They didn't say anything. And when I talk about a staunch ally, I'm talking about the United States of America. The United States of America was busy staying quiet and observing and watching. They never even made a statement as to call this new regime or whatever they want to term it. They sat quiet because I'm guessing the Americans were thinking, man, if the French go out, we can try to re-establish some kind of diplomatic relationship with the new regime, and we can work our way and see if we can both become friends in the future. And all of these things is because of one only thing, man. Now if you look at the Republic of Niger, you will realize that this small Sahel region country, this small West African country, has a natural resource which the whole West will kill for. Yes, we are talking about the uranium factor. While all these things was happening, while they were kicking out the French from a territory where General Chiani and his people came into power, and they demanded that the French ambassador leave and that the French should leave the Republic of Niger after a whole lot of investigation to understand the role that France played in ensuring that that country stayed poor. They kicked out the French. The Americans sat quiet and they watched. And I'm not going to repeat the whole concept of France pilfering uranium at 80 cents to a dollar and to a euro, and reselling the same uranium at 200 euros to a kilo. And of course, we all now know that the former puppet who was in place, man, Mohamed Bazoum, this man was getting a kickback from all the trade that was done of this uranium sold at 200. This man was enriching himself. But hey, guess what? African leaders, especially those that are backed by France around French-speaking Africa, this is their technique. This is what they do. There's no French African country now that you can tell me in West Africa that has a good working relationship with France, that doesn't have a leader that is not loved by his people, a leader that crookedly came into power, a leader that some of them, as we know, were former rebel leaders. I'm not going to point fingers and I'm not going to call names, but yes, this is the way France has been operating. Now let's talk about the other ally to France who, while all of these things was happening, sat quietly and was hoping that they will establish some kind of relationship, because they have a base, they have a drone base in that part of Africa, man. And to them, that drone base was their crown jewel, because they spent over $100 million of taxpayers' money to open that base and to let it function. So the United States of America has a base in Niger, a drone base. And while all of these things were going on, all of the fight between the incoming military junta regime and the French, they didn't say anything because they were hoping to fill that void. When the French left, they would fill that void. Now the French left. Fast forward, a couple of months came in. After a whole lot of investigation, the military junta decided that, you know what, we are going to ask the Americans, unfortunately, to leave, because as it turns out, reports has said that a delegation from the Pentagon, the delegation from the Ministry of Department of Defense in America, came to Niger, and they were trying to dictate to the military junta who they can be friends with, who they can partner with, and who they cannot partner with. Now, mind you, this is one of the reasons why they kicked out the French, because France was deciding who they can work with, who they can do trade with, who they can sell their natural resource with. So this military junta said, you know what, I've had enough. And then a spokesperson came out and they asked the United States to leave. We want you to go out of our country. We don't want you here. You are unconstitutionally present in our country. We don't need you any longer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the American tried to, play back and forth. Oh, we don't understand. We are going to talk to diplomatic cables. But then the military junta said his piece. Leave. Now, so many speculations, of course, like the West and the allies going to say that some of these leaders who took over powers, they are being in partner with their arch enemy, Russia, China, Iran, and so on and so forth. But ladies and gentlemen, a couple of days ago, man, the people, the same way they came out to kick the French out, the same way they came out demanding and asking for the Americans to leave their territory. Yes, the people of the land, they came out. You know what? We have already chosen our leader. We back General Abdurrahman Chani, and you, right now, you are no longer needed. You are persona non grata in this land. Leave. Manifestation, a massive manifestation is going on in Niger, and they want the Americans to leave. I will end this vlog by saying this, ladies and gentlemen. We are in an era where a whole lot of Africans are waking up. We are in times where a whole lot of Africans are realizing that we are poor, we are underdeveloped, we don't have these necessary needs because the rules, man, the dictums of politics is coming from afar. And a whole lot of African leaders have said it quite openly. And let me just quote the recent Sierra Leonean First Lady. She said, you are a president in Africa, but there are certain decisions that you cannot take for the benefit of your own people. So these countries that have decided that enough is enough, they are standing behind the military juntas, just like they're standing behind the military junta in Burkina Faso and the one in Mali, and then they are standing behind, the Nigerians are standing behind Abdurrahman, General Abdurrahman, His Excellency General Abdurrahman. Before I leave this vlog, I want to throw this question out to you. Do you think that the Nigerians coming out massively to kick the Americans out of their territory, do you think that this is a touch of Russia in the background? Do you think that there is a hand asking them to kick the Americans out? Leave a comment. I mean, that's my time. I just wanted us to talk about this, and I hope you still watch it to the end, and then you give us that thumbs up. Leave a comment and let me know exactly what you think. But this is what I would say: Africa is going to rise. Within the next 2 decades, the Africa that we knew 2 decades ago is no longer going to be the Africa 2 decades to come. Be good, be nice. Peace.